Hello, everyone. You're listening to Northern Flights, a Park Pro podcast keeping you up to date with the people, tournaments, and culture of disc golf in Canada and beyond. Consider becoming a Patreon today at patreon.com/parkpro. Find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by DiscGolfPark. And now your hosts, Andre, Jesse, and Matt.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. We have a great episode, fantastic episode. We have two guests. As you can see here, we got Casey Hanemayer and Colleen McInnes. They are the inaugural Canadian Disc Golf Tour champions. So,
Ooh, look at that. It's pretty.
It's gonna show up on the camera eventually. I assure you, your names are on there.
So
It's
beautiful.
heavy.
yes. Yeah, it's there's a reason we don't have a photo of you guys with it. It's because the shipping would have been through the roof. But yeah, that's the trophy. Your name's on the trophy. Congratulations. I mean, for us, this is a big accomplishment. We got through our inaugural Canadian Disc Golf Tour, and you guys were both featured pretty heavily on coverage. So I think that goes to show what we've been able to do in showcasing, obviously, Canada's top talent. So why don't we just start with what this kind of means to you? I know it's a growing thing in Canada to have this tour, and it's maybe not quite established yet as some would like, but this is there's a lot of potential in it, and it could be a very large thing, and to be the very first winners. What does that mean for you guys? And why don't we start with Colleen?
I think it's a really big deal because, as someone who's not a touring pro, but would love to be, but life-wise can't, it's kind of like us starting our own thing here in Canada. So I think it's a big deal for me to just even have something going on like this, let alone what it means for the future. So it's inspiring. I mean, that's a lot of pros that are coming up right now, especially the young ones like Rebecca here, and just thinking about when she gets out of high school and, hopefully does post-secondary. But after that, this could be a career for people now with our collegiate schools and everything. So it's exciting.
You got to get that win in before the young guns come in.
Yeah, that's right. I was here first. I was here when there was one division.
Can't take your name off of a trophy, Colleen. Don't worry.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Casey, what does this mean for you?
Yeah, same thing. I'm just super pumped that you guys decided to do it, right? I remember talking about it with you like 5 years ago. You're like, man, I want to do this thing. Right? And then Matt came along and kind of everything came together, and your guys' dreams. It was really sweet. And it was fun. It was fun winning a lot of tournaments last year. And I'm glad that I didn't have to battle anybody at the end because I was way ahead of everybody. So I was happy about that. For sure.
God, it helps when you win every tournament that you enter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at your final points, it is a testament to the season that you've had, and you strung together a few good wins there. Obviously, BC Open and Canadian Nationals being some key wins there, especially when it comes to the points standing. So, where does this season as a whole, this past season, where does that rank as far as the seasons that you've had in the past?
It's kind of funny because I definitely probably played the best throughout the summer, but my rating didn't go anywhere. So I know everybody talks about ratings both and stuff, but I do think it kind of shows if you're consistent or not. So I had a really hot month, right, when I won all those tournaments, and then there was kind of just every other time I was just kind of playing disc golf. I wasn't playing my best. So yeah, I always talk about, everybody asks me at the beginning of the season, you think you're going to play better this year? And it's like, well, I want to play. I want to win every tournament I go in. But like at the beginning of this year, even, I shot the hottest round I've ever shot at my home course. So, and then, and then the next weekend, we go to Andre's little tournament there, and I play super beige again. So it's just, it's so funny because I want to be more consistent, but it just never seems to go that way, because that's just disc golf, right? It's like it is when you see the guys on the Pro Tour, when they play so consistent every single weekend, and those guys are in the top 10. One of those guys, like Gannonberg, he's in the top 10 every single weekend. It is ridiculous to see that. So, and they play on the hardest courses in the world. So there's a reason why those guys play on the Pro Tour, right? And I tried to do it, and I'm sure I would get hot here and there and maybe have a chance to win a Pro Tour event, but I'm kind of getting off track here, but yeah, it is a testament to those guys on the Pro Tour.
Totally. And we kind of a similar question to you, Colleen. You had a pretty busy schedule last year, just as far as even coming out west. We don't see a lot of players from Ontario coming to compete in the big tournaments out west. So what kind of how do you feel about your year last year? They've seen going on through your listing here, there's a lot of 1s and 2s and 3s on there. So you had a pretty good season as well.
Yeah. I honestly, I would say right when I broke my foot was the best disc golf I've ever been playing. And it sucked so much because I felt like I was so consistent. Like Casey was saying about what they do on the Pro Tour, watching one of the events earlier this year, they were talking about someone's non-bogey streak, how many holes they had gone consecutively across tournaments without bogeying. Yeah. And it was just blowing my mind to think, like that's at the MPO level for sure, like that's what it takes. And I mean, it's really getting there at the FPO level as well. When you look at like Tatar and on just like not bogeying anything and having such clean rounds. So it really felt like I was there, where I was just, if I made a mistake, it was because I slightly missed something or slightly off, like not shanking shots ever. And I was just like right there, and I was going to USWDGC and then a A tier and the women's event down there. And it was just like everything was lining up, and then broke my foot. So coming back has been really exciting because I wanted to continue with that momentum. And when I did come back, I waited long enough before I even went out to play at all. I waited till my physiotherapist cleared me fully to like actually play. And I was like, "You're sure? You're really sure?" We waited another week, and I was like, "Okay." And then it felt like, I mean, obviously walking was painful-ish. It was like uncomfortable, but it felt the same. So in, I think, 6 weeks that I was playing when I got back, I had 3 aces because everything was just so smooth and so like effortless. And it was like, those months of watching disc golf, I was like, I can do that line. Now that I'm back to tournaments, it was the first tournament of the year. I was playing on what I would consider one of my home courses, and pretty small competition. There was only 3 of us, and one of them was like an FA1 that kind of got bullied into moving up, so we'd have a division. So it was like a pretty effortless tournament there. But then going to Project 15 this last weekend, it was awful. It was all those little mistakes, those little tweaks. Like I could feel my foot so much more, making my balance thrown off. The course is so difficult there. So it was enlightening because the last 2 months have gone really well. And I was like, yeah, back to what I was doing 6 months ago. And then I was like, psych, I am so not. So yeah, I would say last year was one of the best years. And I agree with Casey, like my rating didn't really do anything that much. But I was having a discussion with my friend, and the differential between like your highest and lowest, the standard deviation is when you're playing and you're not shooting below your rating, it's consistently like around your rating, a few points above, maybe a few points below, but like really, really, really standard. Your standard deviation is so small. And in order for you to increase your rating, you really have to shoot well above. Like you have to move this side up. And we had a bunch of people the last month or two that their rating went down, even though the first two tournaments of the year, their rating was above their average. And it was because they had some ratings drop off left from last year that were so high that it brought their standard deviation a bit wider. And now something lower got put on and dropped their actual rating down. So it's like all the math involved in there. I do think like the consistency, if you feel like you are playing consistent, your rating is 100% accurate. But if you are one of those people who can, be 900 rated and you shoot 800 and then 990 the next round, your rating is not going to be accurate at all because you're not accurate at all. So the more consistent you are, the more I think the ratings are real.
Boy, I can relate to that real hard.
Yeah.
Before we move on to more Canadian stuff, something we didn't really get a chance to talk about a ton was you went down and you played in the American Flying Disc Open, and we know some other lady in Ontario who we just had on the podcast last week got all the credit for winning that thing, but you played 20 something points over your rating and you came in second at that event. What kind of an experience was that like, and being on lead card going for the win at a Silver Series and having Chantel and Sandy there in the hunt with you? How cool was that experience, and what are some things that you remember from it?
I think it was wild because I've been to a lot of Pro Tour events, but I've never been on that kind of coverage. Like I've had Paige Pierce on my card where they like showed up because she was doing well, which is not the same as being on a feature card. And I forgot. So I walked up, we were going to tee off, and I was like standing there and I was talking to, I think like Holly or something. And I was like, oh, it's like excited to play with you today. Like, oh, they must be waiting for the next card. Like, and she's like, no, they're filming us. We're on the feature card. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot they do, because I'm so used to like one card gets filmed for FPO forever. So I was like, oh yeah, there's two production teams. Cool. So we're being filmed. So that was like really funny right off the bat. And I feel like the laughing did not end because I mean I love playing with pros because you get to see so much more insight into like the confidence, I think, more than anything. And so, but it was fun to play with Holly. She was like off camera. She's so funny and making jokes the whole time. And there's like, if you go back and watch the footage, there's a forbidden banana bite or something like that, where she didn't want to eat her banana on film. So she turned it sideways. And, that was hilarious. And I took a photo with Kat and Chantal at the end where we did like a cute little, we tried to like make a maple leaf thing. Kat outlined it, so it looked better. But if you go to her Instagram, it's on there. And then like one of the best parts was the people messaging me back home and like being like, oh, they just cut to you. They showed you. People being like, they cut to your card so many times, but then they'd show all three of them throw, but not you. And then someone messaged me at night and was like, oh, you got the shot of the halal shot of the day or something like that. And so I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then watching back, like it was cool because the PDGA posts those snapshots, like, and they'll repost them later on. And so I'm sure like when AFDO, well, it won't be an event this year, but they might like flash back to it from last year. And it's kind of cool to be like, oh, look, I'm famous. I could be there too. But that was a lot of fun. And like big shout out to Ellie Ezra. I met her camping. That she's like very young, 16 or 17. She had her birthday that weekend and she was doing okay in the tournament. She decided, it's not worth it to stay. Like I might cash out, I might not. So she left and went to Worlds early. And it was her birthday that day when they did the distance comp and she won, which I think it was, yeah, it was like to have like that kind of experience, you know, hopefully meet like a future world champion. That was cool. She can bomb like crazy. It's insane how far she can throw. I
She
mean, I
can
think
chuck a
she's
disc.
not on coverage now.
But you were beating her after the first round, and you beat Holly Finley and Ellen Whitboom, and you got a 12-stroke victory over Raven Klein, so some revenge there. Yeah, was that a highlight of the year for you that whole weekend?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think just getting that experience, I mean, a lot of people, you know, I'm always going to remember it as the tournament that a lot of people didn't go to because Worlds was the next weekend. But there was a lot of people there that I beat that I was like, you know, man, I wish I could just quit my job and go do this because that would be so fun and to feel like you know, you belong there. So it was amazing. And I think I was in like third or fourth. Like I fought back in that last round. And then I got, you know, you get told after, you're like, oh, you were beating Chantel for like a brief moment. And then she pulled it back and like birdied like all of the rest of the holes. But it was just kind of cool to know that like I fought back so well. And I fought back so well at nationals this last year. So definitely got a don't catch me while I'm down because I will hunt back. But I mean, if I'm winning, I will easily throw it away to someone.
Yeah, you guys had two like super different rounds at nationals for sure. You were kind of both on different ends of it. And Casey, we did talk to you a little bit about it, but I do want to go back because I don't remember if we covered nationals a ton. Would you rather be leading going into it into the last few holes, or would you rather be chasing somebody down? Because you sort of ended up doing both in the back nine.
Yeah, we kind of all exchanged a whole bunch of strokes there in the last 5 holes, I think. But no, I think because I've done it so much now, I would way rather have like at least a 2-stroke lead. And I did. I think on hole 6, well, no, what hole would have been? After hole, what was that? That was 13 or 14? I think it was 13 when I threw it into the bunker. Took a bogey on that hole, and then the next hole I took another bogey. So I think I had 3 strokes, and then I gave them all away in those 2 holes. So, and like I usually don't do that, but it was, however, it worked out like that, and then I did the same thing on 17, and we were all tied up. So it was, yeah, like I think I said this on the podcast before when we did talk about it. Like I was so mad. I was so mad that I did that. I was just like, I never do this. I never give up that many strokes and that many holes. Right? There's like it was 3 holes where I gave 6 strokes away, and it's just like, what is going on? So
Yeah, you
yeah,
got a ton of experience being a
was
front runner at events, I would say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So and that it really doesn't bother me anymore, kind of being out ahead. Even like a couple strokes, right? It doesn't bother me. I just play my game. I really try not to think about it. Like it's obviously in the back of your head, but like you said, I've been there enough. So it's not really in my head that I have a couple strokes. But as soon as you give it away like that, you sure think about it. And it like and we did talk about it on coverage too, is like I just wish that second shot on 18 and you kind of got a better angle on that, because that shot was probably was one of my best forehands, because that was like not an easy shot to throw from that far left side on that hole. If whoever's played Dragon Hills, you know what I'm talking about. Throwing a forehand onto that island is not easy. So
Yeah, I think that's
no,
definitely.
everything worked out, and it's funny because I bugged Brian about this right after the tournament ended, and I know he rushes his putts, and I legit went up to him before he putted, and I'm like, dude, just take your time, and he didn't.
We almost didn't
And they
get set
rammed it
up.
into the
Like
cage.
we were talking on our radios, and we were like, okay, you go over there, get it from that side. Okay, someone's got to get the crowd. And then like before we were even set up, right, and we're like, he's walking his disc.
Yeah.
And you
We
know,
almost didn't get it. We only had one camera going really on it.
as soon as Brian's
Yeah.
walks up to his disc, he's throwing it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But
He's a
Colleen,
quick guy.
you are the people's champion for a reason. I can totally relate to. Like, I throw the worst when I'm throwing well. Anytime that things are going great and it suddenly gets in my head like, oh, this is going really well, it starts to not go well. But you put on one of the performances of the year, and we're gonna do some highlight videos at some point this summer. But your performance in the final round of nationals is, to me, the stuff of legends, because you were down like 8 or 9 strokes or something like that. Like going into the back 9, even, I think you were down a whole bunch of strokes. I remember that as being one of the craziest things we saw all year. What's your memory of that back 9 of the final round of nationals?
Sure was doing towards the back nine, like once we got to the back nine, because I think I bogeyed hole one both times we played that course, and I was just so mad. And I was like, man, at the second, like the third round, so the second time we played there, I was like, maybe I could just do what Kalen did, because I think he parred 1, 2, and 3, and then just birdied everything else. So I was like, maybe I could just do that, but like FPO style, where it's like, you know, you bogeyed the first hole and you just get par everything and do great. And yeah, it was just, I think it's part of that. I mean, it's good to have where Casey's coming from. Like, I'd rather be in the lead and lose, like, not that you want to lose, but that you had it, like you had the opportunity, because there's a lot of arrogance you have to have for yourself about like, I can make that shot, because you're doing that over and over to yourself. Like, you're like, I can do this, I can get across there, it's not that far. And so when someone's up against you and you have a stroke on them, you're like, I just have to park this shot, and then they'll have to run their putt. Like, you have like the higher ground there, so it's better. But when I'm losing, I am very much so much more driven. Like, it's like an anger comes out, and you're just like so pissed off that you know you can do better. And I think I experienced that when we went to Croatia for the first time. I was like having this body experience, but it was like it was not for the finals. It was when we played Estonia. They're just so good,
Okay.
so good, and every shot this freaking girl did was amazing. And she screwed up a shot, and I was like, I'm so mad. Like, I should be doing these shots too. And I just started lacing shots, and I ended up tying her. And I think I had a stroke on her, but I tied her in the end. I got the only point for our team, because that's how good this team was. But it was like, I was in like tunnel vision, and I was like, I can't see anything but the basket, and like nailing putts, and it was crazy. And I think I tapped into that in Croatia, and then now it's a little bit easier to get into that mindset where it's not necessarily I'm fueled by anger, but I'm just so driven. Like, it's like using your frustration for good, where you're like, not that you're mad that you did something wrong, but you know you can do better. And you're so like upset that you're like, I'm gonna prove to myself that I can do better than this. So yeah, it was, I think it just tapped into that a little bit. And then when I went as the back nine, I think, my caddy Mike, he's an Olympian. I don't know if I mentioned that. I don't even think I mentioned it on the coverage, but he's an Olympic figure skater. So he was there like helping me. Not I talked to him before, and I was like, I need you to talk to me about anything but disc golf. Like, tell me something stupid about a bird you just saw in that tree, or something, like anything. And so then I would like turn to him and be like, this disc or this one? He's like, which one do you like more? Like, things like that. So it's just keeping me happy. But then at one point I could just tell on his face he was getting like really giddy. And I was like, oh, I think I'm doing pretty good. Like, I probably fought back to like, because I think I was in fourth. So I was like, I think I fought back. Maybe I'm tied for second. And then I think around hole 14 or 15, Raven had a big, like it was a big switch, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna check the scores now. Maybe this should matter. So the last 4 holes I did know pretty well, like vaguely how well I was doing, and then I was like, okay, let's just like keep it together. And it's kind of ironic, the playoff. I don't think I've lost a playoff in years, and I find that like I flourish under pressure. I'm just like, oh, there's all these people watching me do this really cool shot, and so that was heartbreaking, but I was really happy to get that chance. And then I almost made that drop zone putt. Could have got her shaken for her 5-foot tap in.
Yeah, you put on one of the great putting displays that we saw all year. I don't even remember the count, but like your circle 2 stats were probably close to 50% because you were just putting them in from everywhere. Is that a normal part of your game, or was that like you just had a hot day out there with the putter?
I think it was a hot day. I certainly like know I can do that, but it definitely felt better than normal. But yeah, we have a putting league every winter. And last winter, not this past one, but last year, I came like 3rd or 4th in our putting league in Toronto, and I was like, beat all these awesome MPOs in Toronto at putting. And so I went into the year really confident, and I had that huge putt at AFDO that they kept playing, and so I was like very excited about that. And I think going into it was just like all of the stuff last year. I forget all those shitty things, and when I make a huge putt, I'm like, look at how awesome I am at putting. Made so many big putts, and it was like 2, but you make yourself feel so good about it, and then it becomes believable. So yeah, I definitely went into last season feeling good putting, and then it paid off all that off season. So I tried it again this year. We'll see how it goes. Putt clubs are
Good. Well, the putting is something you can do with a bum foot, hopefully. So
yeah. Straddle putts are so good right now because I couldn't put all my weight on that putt. So it's like I went to putt club and just straddle putted.
good. Just imagine yourself with a walking boot all summer. You're going to be great.
I gotta say too, for nationals, I've had so many people make jokes about snakes. So a lot of people have watched that.
Sorry, we had to put that in. It was too funny. Yeah,
We'll see
obviously, if
in
for some reason you haven't watched FPO coverage, do check it out because Colleen did commentary on it, and it was some of the best disc golf that we saw all year. Sorry to interrupt you, Colleen.
Oh no, yeah. We're gonna reenact the snake moment in Australia, but maybe with a bigger snake.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect segue. I was gonna say, if you haven't watched Casey's win as well, definitely go check that out because it was honestly that Canadian Nationals, both MPO and FPO were some of the best coverage we've done to date, and it's just like when you have. And we're talking as editors here, when you have disc golf that's that riveting and that exciting, especially coming down to the wire, it's like it's gives you all the motivation to get it out as fast as you can because you just want people to see it. And you guys both put on an amazing show for Canadians, and like we said, showcasing Canadian disc golf, and that's very important. And speaking of showcasing disc golf, you guys are both selected to Team Canada, and as you alluded to earlier, you guys are both heading down to Australia. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about the prep that you're doing for that, and kind of how you guys found out you guys were on the team, and is it one of those things where you get selected and you just kind of like got to commit now and you're in for good, or how does that work?
Mr. Sheeler just phoned you up and says you want to come play for Team Canada. No, it's kind of a selection process, obviously, right? It's like based on your rating, and then how many times you've actually played for Team Canada. That helps a lot in the selection process. So, yeah, I've played. Well, going to Australia, I've played 3 times now. But just going back to Croatia, when Colleen said about her playing the Estonian, I played with her in the last round against against Finland, and I wish there was coverage of that because there was absolute show when we played Finland in the last round, and yeah, it wasn't good. Me and Colleen almost came to fisticuffs with the Finnish people, so
Oh,
They were
no.
brutal.
yeah,
Oh no.
yeah.
The players
Yeah,
or
so
fans or
that
coaches
happened,
or what?
but it all cooled down, and then Colleen with her clutch factor just won that in a playoff. So
Sorry,
we
we're
got
gonna
third
need
place in a playoff. So
we're
it
gonna
was
need more
pretty big deal.
information on this. You almost got into a fight with the other players or like team managers or the fans or what?
Other players, yeah. Other players, yeah. So I can't remember his name, but yeah, he was. I think it legit happened on the third hole, where there's a rule in match play golf.
It's Dan's Rule of the Week. It's Dan's Rule of the Week.
There's a rule in match play golf where you can tell the people to pick up their disc if you are parked in when you play doubles. I don't really know how it works, but I remember Stu talking about it, and I was like, you don't want anybody to practice putt, right? So if you're parked for a two, and the other card you're playing against is putting for a three, you can legit just tell them to pick it up, right? So we told them to pick it up, and the Finnish guy was so pissed. Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear in the podcast, but
Sorry, we'll bleep
they're
it out.
super pissed. And then the whole rest of the round, he was making these little like snicky comments in Finnish, and I knew he was talking about me the whole time. So I legit told him to be quiet once. I was like, dude, I need you to stop. And then I think we got to like hole 13 or 14, where he did like one thing, and my shot kind of got lucky through some branches and stuff, and I just lost it. I was just like, dude, if you do not be quiet, I will beat the piss out of you in the middle of a WFDF tournament where there's supposed to be friendship, all this stuff. And then it was just, I was so freaking riled up by this guy. And then I think we were up by a couple, and then we kind of came down to the last hole, and then we were all tied up with Finland, and then Colleen had to go to a playoff, and she I think the lady wasn't even close, but Colleen, I wasn't worried at all because I knew you had it the whole way. So
Oh, I don't know if I told you this too, Casey. He walked up during that playoff. He walked up and he was like, "Oh, are you sure you don't want her to just pick it up?" When she was going to putt for
man,
her
I'm just
three.
lucky I didn't hear that. Man,
Yeah.
he's really lucky I didn't hear that. Holy man. Oh,
He didn't
that
come
guy
to
was
a
such a
Yeah. And to be fair to Finland, the girl that I played against that was on that doubles team, she traded shirts with me at the end of the round. Like she came over, she
Okay.
apologized, she talked to me about it, and I was like, no, I don't blame you at all. Like it's not your fault that she's mad. But she was really nice about it, and
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
yeah. That was only one of two incidents because it wasn't you or me, but there was another Canada card that had issues with someone calling a time warning on them on the first hole.
Okay.
And then and then so I mean, we don't want to say we're vengeful, but like when you're playing on a team, maybe you have more initiative to be a bit vengeful because your whole team is counting on you. So our guys were like, cool, if you're going to time us, we'll time you. And they gave him a warning because he was over the time, and the guy flipped out. And they got into an altercation. Like, they didn't fight or anything. They were yelling at each other on the course. Like, just... So Canada didn't come out too highly on the Spirit Award points, but we also got in trouble for giving people... It was like out of 4 when you score their Spirit Award points, and we got in trouble for giving it all 4s. They called us. They're like, "You're not allowed to do that." And we're like, "But they were so nice," and they were like, "You can't do that," and we had to change them, which was hilarious. But Australia actually won the Spirit Award, and they're hosting this year. So yeah,
Which I thought was kind of funny because when I played Australia, it wasn't. Yes, I don't know. Guys that
Was that spirited?
Oh,
so much. Maybe it's because they gave everybody stuff. There's
probably.
We got like sunglasses. Someone gave us buttons. Someone gave us like a patch, and we were giving out suckers to people. Maple leaf suckers, maple syrup ones. But yeah. Oh yeah. So this is important too, because there was a little feedback from Ontario about the selection process for the national team. So there is a formal process, and it is posted if people go to Can Disc Golf. But it's basically like they email everyone who is in the top whatever, say like 20 guys, 10 girls, see who they get back. And then they pick based on that. So we had some feedback from people who were upset that they didn't know to apply. And we were like, no, you don't apply necessarily. You get offered an application. And that's just based on rate. So, if you didn't get offered, then just, that's a goal for this year, boost it up and get on there, because there are lots of people we get that are subs that are just willing to go. So yeah, but that it is a formal process. And then
I don't know if we went over it on the podcast before, but in case we haven't, or if we missed that one, for the record, your team as selected was Casey Hanemayer, Colleen McInnes, Dave Ross, Hector Diakow, Karen Martell, Christy Lee, Max Regitnig, Noah Higgins, Sophia Dunica, Stu McKissick, Thomas Gilbert, Craig Sheether is captaining, and your alternates are Chloe Winter, Miguel Alvarado, Thomas Hums, and Jeremy Gauthier. So a who's who of great Canadian disc golfers. So I don't know that I really have any issue with any of those selections personally.
No, I do think though that there's some misunderstanding about it.
Yeah, there definitely is.
Can Disc Golf posted this past weekend about how we all did in a tournament, and then they were like, why didn't you post about Chantel? And it's like, well, she's not on the team. And then like, how is she not on the team? And it's like, because she didn't want to go. Like, it's not because we're not picking her. But yeah, I don't think we've ever had a year where our top 3 men and top 3 women actually went, ever. So, I mean, last year would, like, Croatia, it would have been Sandy who should have come as the 3rd, and this year it should be Chantel. So like, and same with the MPOs, like Marty's never gone. This is Thomas's 2nd, but 1st Worlds. So it's like hard to get people and convince people. So I think people are just like, they're looking out for their favorite pros and not necessarily understanding the process and the commitment to like.
This is not all expenses paid plus a salary. This is, you guys have to figure out how to get to Australia to play this event, right?
But if you do want to help out, we have discs for sale right now. You can find them on Disc Republic, and there will be other fundraising efforts made. I know there's personal fundraisers happening as well. Stu and Sophia have already gotten on theirs. I don't know, but I'm sure Casey's doing maybe a disc run or something, and
I do something.
Yeah. So there will be lots of opportunity, but right now we're doing that disc sale. We tried to do a basket raffle, but there wasn't enough interest in it. So we might try to throw that together again later in the summer. But, if you're looking to personally support the team, just reach out to someone. And if you're looking to support everyone as a whole, those discs, go support the PDGA, because they do help all the tournaments in Canada. And I wish we could say this somehow, but I don't know how you can support Can Disc Golf. Maybe just go look at their website and actually know who they are, because they also support us. So, it's good to support the organizations that are helping to make this happen.
Well, yeah, we're going to try and have Craig Sheether on the podcast at some point, hopefully soon. But yeah, the Canadian Disc Golf Association, or Can Disc Golf, that Colleen is talking about, is the group that is trying to get NSO status, National Sporting Organization. So if you think Baseball Canada, Bowling Canada, Hockey Canada, maybe not the best example. Canada, curl Canada, I forget what the curling one's called, but all these major sports have national sporting organizations, and that enables you to get a ton of funding for the sport and the growth of the sport and coaching and just like establishing the sport and getting some logistical support and things like that. So the Canadian Disc Golf Association, or Can Disc Golf, is the group that's trying to do that. And you can help out. They're not charging anything right now, but they do need members and they do need board members. And as they're hoping to get a window into a window where they can reapply for NSO status pretty soon, and they want to have a board in place, a bigger board. They have a board essentially, but they want to get a bigger board in place with people from coast to coast in Canada. And so if you're listening to this and you want to help out and give back, but also just be involved in arguably the biggest thing in Canadian disc golf and the most helpful thing for the sport, let us know. We can put you in touch with the right people, or just reach out to Craig Sheether if you know him, or Chris Ozelins, or reach out to Colleen. She can put you in touch with these people. Send us an email, make a comment on this on your Spotify, whatever. We'll reach out to you. But if you're interested in doing something and that's a fairly minimal time commitment, but that can have a maximum impact on the future of disc golf in Canada, get in touch and consider applying and helping out Can Disc Golf, for the Canadian Disc Golf Association.
Yeah, and
That's free.
I'll add to that. They are doing their first board of directors AGM, their first AGM to elect a board of directors and everything, and that will be happening at Canadian Nationals this year. And I do believe they plan on making it an online thing as well. So it's not like you have to be there to get elected or participate or make sure your voice is heard. That's all happening at Canadian Nationals this year. So
Exciting. And I have to say, if you're a parent out there of a junior disc golfer, you are exactly the type of person we need on that kind of board. So especially important for that.
Yeah, but most importantly,
100%.
support Canadian disc golf in any way you can, and like Colleen said, and support Casey and Colleen and the rest of the Canadian team by heading over to Disc Republic and purchasing those disc packs that they have for sale. If you want to know more, I think if you look on Can Disc's Facebook and their Instagram, I think they have more information there. So
3 stamps to choose from. Pretty cool. What are you going with for yours, Casey? What are you doing for your discs?
It's a secret right now.
Okay.
Everybody's kind of struggling for plastic production, except like Innova and Discraft. So I'm just waiting for Prodigy to kind of get some more discs. It's a struggle right now for everybody. It's kind of like the same thing when COVID happened and all the boom and all the discs disappeared, and now I don't know what actually is happening, but I guess everybody's kind of struggling for plastic. So we'll see. Hopefully midsummer I can get some kind of disc and a stamp. I already got a stamp made up, so I'm just waiting for the right plastic to come out.
Well, I don't know if you're picky about brands, Colleen, but could we suggest maybe a national CDGT champion? Maybe we'll get you guys Photoshop next to the trophy. I'm just saying, just throwing ideas out there.
Oh, that's a great idea. We can cartoon ourselves like Sophia did, and
yeah.
that'd be great. I have a stamp made too, and I just don't have the order in yet. So similar, I was gonna try and get Thought Space, and I had a window there, and then I didn't jump on it, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, they're not doing it anymore." I think it's just a matter of tournaments, right? People are ordering their tournament discs super early because they're like, "I don't want to worry about it." So hopefully that flattens out, and then it'll be good.
Is it going to be you holding a cup of Tim's?
Yeah, there is coffee. There's a coffee cup in it too. I was thinking about just doing like a snake and having like the words like "Oh my god, a snake." I thought I got feedback that it might be too niche of a market, but I was like, everyone would find that pretty funny though.
Yeah, they would. It's pretty good.
You don't want to be. I don't know if you want that to be your brand. It's nice to be known for something, but I think we could probably do better than got scared of a snake one time.
I'm a Slytherin though, so appropriate.
Okay. Nice.
Love
It's funny when you see niche stamps. Ben Logan said the same thing to me. He's a local pro here in Cranbrook as well. And he said to me, he's like, anybody in Western Canada will know Casey for all his pasta that he eats between rounds in Western Canada. But like anybody who else buys the stamp wouldn't know. That's what Ben said. He's just like, you would just want a Tupperware container of pasta on as a stamp.
Oh, it's too good. Those are fun runs. It's too bad we can't just make those ourselves.
Yeah.
Get them to stamp them for us.
Didn't you look into a hot stamping machine, Andre, at one point?
Yeah.
Didn't you?
I think Jesse's been on that more so than myself. So, but well, we'll have to revisit that for sure.
How much did it cost? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Dang.
I feel like
But it's kind of like borderline illegal now, I think.
yeah, post-production stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's like pretty severe about all the, you can't do anything to the discs after. And like now people were debating, like, what if I buy a disc from Disc Republic and it has a Disc Republic sticker on it? Am I allowed to throw that? Because that's technically after manufacturing. So it's like, so ridiculous. Someone was telling me I couldn't use my paint markers on the disc, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna throw that putter away now.
I'm not sure anyone's going to call you. Well, if we ever get our hot stamping machine, we'll let you guys know, and we can have all the stupid stamps.
And if we got to keep it legal, we'll get a disc molder as well, an injection molder.
That's right.
Yeah.
With all that Park Pro money. Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing I like to always kind of ask our pros how they feel about the future of the sport, especially in Canada. Obviously Canadian Disc Golf Tour is going to be a part of that for years to come. But I would also, are there any young up and comers that you guys think, you at some point you guys will start to fall off as far as being on the top level? Are there up and comers that you guys can see take sort of passing that mantle on and passing the torch to?
Yeah, so this past weekend, I just got my ass kicked by a kid that's half my age, so that was fun. I'm not
We haven't
even
talked about her. We gave her a brief mention because she won the FJ18 down at USWDGC, I think, right? But Rebecca Dunn,
Yeah.
what's her deal? Where the hell did she come from?
I gotta say, I didn't just lose to her. Like, she beat all of us. Like, beat us. And it was flawless. Like, I mean, some of her shots, I was like, man, that's so far. Like, that was a phenomenal shot. And we're in the craziest forest of the escarpments of rocks everywhere and trees everywhere. And she's just lacing lines. So, and I'm not kidding. She is 16 years old. So she is literally breaking out into FPO this year. And I believe she said in an interview, not taking cash, which reflected in the payout I got. So I think she's not taking cash, which is crazy because she could do, I mean, if she's looking at collegiate and all that and doesn't want to take cash till she's much older, especially if she's going to go to juniors for 2 more years, like that's a lot of money that she's going to be turning down. So hopefully her sponsorship, recognizes and can contribute back to that because she is sponsored by Innova right now. She's on their junior team, which I believe is why she's not taking cash because they're not allowed to. But that's one. I mean, there's quite a few young girls out here looking to crush us, and I gotta say, quite a few young MPOs coming out. And I gotta say, Rebecca is good friends with like Kaylin and those guys, so it's a little bit of who you know and who you play with and who you practice with. And I think partially for Rebecca and her sisters as well, the sky's the limit. Like when you're playing with people like that right away, and those guys right away came out bombing it. So when you play with people like that right away, you don't think that throwing a 80-foot shot is good. And there is no 80, you just your momentum goes up so quick. So I think that's part of it, but definitely she got filmed the second round. They went from the MPO first round and FPO second round. She's got a huge lead and she did not fall apart, which was amazing. So it was really inspiring to watch. It was like how I felt about Sophia when I went to go out to BC. So
Cool.
that's a huge one here. I don't know if you've got any guys coming after you, Casey.
It's actually kind of funny because it's just so cool listening to you and hearing about all the young guys coming up and girls in Ontario, right? And I think like really off the top of my head that I know there's a couple guys in Vancouver or Victoria. I know there's a couple guys on the island. Not really like Colin McLeod in Calgary. Obviously Connell came to nationals and stuff last year in Ontario. I think our best, like obviously the population helps a lot when in Ontario, but I think probably all our best potential is all the guys that I met in Ontario, like Callan and Jake. I feel like those guys, it kind of sucks that those are the guys I was talking to come to nationals this year in BC, because I wanted them so bad, because like those are the guys that I want young guys in Western Canada to see, right? It's like just to see how kind of far they are ahead. I was like, because Alan is what, he's 18, 17 still. So I want to see those guys come over to BC to show young guys here is like, you guys need to step up, right? So I think there's a level that kind of Ontario is at right now. And and like some of the BC guys don't really think that they should be at that level right away. But it would be cool. Like, I want them to come over here just to put some pressure on the young guys in Western Canada. So
it's so funny because I think we have the same problem but opposite sides of the country, because that's why I am sad would be the best word about nationals this year, because I am going and I believe I'm still the only Ontario FPO coming. And I went there last year and was like, you guys should see these girls. They're great. Like I played with Christy. And so I knew a few of them, but it was just like to see some of the talent out there and the bar for the talent. I was like, you guys need to go out there. And then this year happened, and with the Diameter Open, it just sucks. It sucks that convenience outweighs everything in disc golf. To get a pro tour going, we really need way heavier sponsorship, way more TD coordination, way more TD flexibility, honestly, way more provincial coordination. Because, like, just to get it's nationals, you should want to go get your national title. And then it's a lot of like, well, I'm going to this tournament and this tournament and this tournament. And similarly, I think we have, like, with you coming to Ontario, we have the same priorities of, like, I do want to do a lot of stuff, but I really feel way more inclined to try to put my effort fueled into Canada and what I want to do here than anywhere else. And I think with you guys too, doing this tour, it's such an initiative that I have thought about, that I probably a few years ago actually talked pretty heavily to my friend about, not about doing, but about that was like my kind of dream for disc golf, is to have a national tour. So to have so much opportunity right now, people who are willing to do it, and not have TDs kind of stepping up for that, is really frustrating. I think that it's such a loss to have tournaments that you guys had last year drop off, and not put that effort in, to have tournaments not picking up the slack and filling in those spots is disappointing. And I understand money is important to have. I think as pros in the next 10 years, we need to be thinking significantly more about leaning on manufacturer sponsorship and other means of sponsorship instead of on our payouts. Because as much as I want a big payout, I'd rather have it filmed. And not because I want to be on film being like, hey, look at my video, but because it's the amount of girls that I've had tell me that they've watched me, the amount of even guys being like, oh, I watched this and it was so cool to watch you guys do those shots. Like, it's inspiring to people. So like what we're saying about wanting to share our provinces with our respective other provinces with our respective divisions, it goes that way when you have that kind of coverage. And not that people aren't doing a good enough job, but like you guys really could get a lot more support than I think you are. And I think people need to care a significant amount more about this if they want our sport to grow. I don't know how it is out there with juniors, but I think that's why we're getting what we're getting. I don't know if I know you've met Nico, but I don't know if you guys have, where they're doing Nico's drive out here. Real shame what the PDGA did, but Nico was the youngest PDGA TD in history. And then the following year, they were like, oh, you have to be 18. And I got it. Money thing. You can't have kids handling money. but it was a team. So Nico's drive continues with his dad, Carl, runs it. And they do an Ontario Junior Championship. It's very well run. It's coordinated. They do it at almost every popular area, maybe not every course, but every popular area, and run these events. They run them kind of in some way, in some capacity, connected to another tournament. So, if there's a tournament there that weekend, they might have it on the Monday or the Friday, and that way kids can come and play. And so that's been huge. And Rebecca, actually, when she won this weekend, she got her trophy handed to her by Carl, who got to hand her a trophy at the Ontario Juniors last year. And she has come, I think, a few years now. So at least the last 2 years. So it's just that, I think, is the biggest thing. If people want to make a difference in their community with these young kids coming in, put the investment into youth, whether that be like 10-year-olds or 16-year-olds. And it will pay off whether or not it's with them, but there will be at least one kid. And then the rest of the kids in that community now have someone to look up to when they start playing. So it's huge to kind of grow that way. But yeah, I think that's why a lot of our juniors are growing. And I think that's why it's so important that people do these kind of podcasts, interviews, coverage, like all this media that we're getting. It is a lot to watch and it's a lot to keep up with, but it is worthwhile in every moment that we get to share this kind of stuff. So definitely any way you can contribute, people, get on it, whether it's playing or filming or whatever.
I don't know about you, Andre, but I was tearing up a little bit during that, because Colleen, you get exactly what we have been trying to do this whole time. And it's, presenting Canadian disc golf so that we can spark the imagination of the existing players and also the next generation of players that are going to come up. Because if you want to be the best in Canada, when I was in university, I decided I was going to be a playwright, and I wanted to be the great Canadian playwright. And then I realized that I didn't know who the current great Canadian playwright was, and I didn't have anybody to look up to and shoot for. And so we want to put Casey Hanemayer and Colleen McInnes on video in an entertaining, well-produced format, so people can be like, oh, damn, this is how good I gotta be. And also, this is how good you can be at disc golf in Canada. And like you said, like, if you grow up in a pocket where like the best disc golfer is 890 rated, then you're going to have a hard time being better than an 890 rated disc golfer. Like back in the day, I'm not even that old in the sport, but like you learn, either you make it up as you go and then you get weird hinky form, or you learn from the best person at the course near your house. And if that person's not great, then you're learning terrible form. But if you are exposed to this world of great players, and especially people from your own place, then you can be like, damn, Colleen can do this. Like she can compete against the best American players. She can drop putts from 60 feet. Like, okay, I can do this. And now I got something to shoot for. And if I see her, I'll be like, oh yeah, you're that lady that did that thing. So yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And that's, yeah, if I'm glad Thomas Gilbert's coming to nationals, because he gets it, because he's been around for a while. He knows the history of nationals a little bit more than some of the younger generation. But being the national champion should mean something, and it should be a priority for people. And to me, if I was a high level athlete, which I'm not even close to being, but like I would want to be the best in the country at that thing, and I would want an opportunity to test my game against the best people in the country. So
Yeah.
I think we'll have some better buy-in and coordination next year with the major events, hopefully. And like we want to be a part of that, and we want to be working with people. Like we don't want to own any of these events. We don't want to run any of the events. But like if what we can do is help organize events to encourage more people from Ontario to come out to like one or two major A tiers in Western Canada, that would be amazing. Like if we can get a few Ontario people out to like Manitoba provincials. Manitoba's got some sick courses, and a whole bunch of Manitoba people came out to Ontario to play disc golf. So it'd be cool to see some like top people come out to Manitoba. And like if we can get any of those things and make some headway in any of those things, I think we could feel like, okay, mission accomplished. But we got some work to do to get there. But in the meantime, anyone who does show up to nationals and plays well might get on coverage. So
Well, you guys are doing Yukon's first A tier. It's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yukon?
Hot announcement.
Oh, what's that? You're on their Discord.
It's
yeah, we did.
It's
we
one
did
of those
sort of
unofficial announcements. It's like it's the same thing. Like TCO is unofficially officially on the tour, but yeah, but that's the thing is like we'll be coming out with our schedule very shortly here, and it wasn't really a hot announcement there, Matt, because if you watch the Gold Eagle Open at the very end, we actually did reveal some of the bigger tournaments in sort of a wispy way in the background of a map that also announced that all A tiers and B tiers this year will count towards points towards Canadian Disc Golf Tour as well. So that was one of the things where, you know, we had some tournaments that unfortunately couldn't make it happen again this year, but we wanted to make sure that players in Ontario and Quebec and, you know, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, these places, you know, we have a lot of tournaments in BC and Alberta, but these other places where there aren't as many tournaments that are going to be on coverage, we want to make sure that players still have a chance at getting some points. So we are working on a point structure where you can still attain points, but these tournaments that are on the main tour, the coverage that will have coverage, they will be worth quite a bit more. So it was announced on the Gold Eagle Open. I guess I should say teased on the Gold Eagle Open coverage. So yeah.
But like the Yukon, it's like a disc golf festival. It's like a week-long festival of disc golf in the middle of summer when you can play 24 hours a day.
And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I think they were posting that it was their first ever A tier in the Yukon or something like that. But they were saying about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna look into it." And then I clicked on it, and it said on the disc golf scene page that you guys are going, and I was like, "Ooh, I really want to go now." So I have to say, TDs, like, it's very appealing if you have.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really exciting to have that big kind of an event happening in a new place and get to go see a new place, and hopefully it draws people out because I mean, you guys do such good coverage. So Yeah.
Well, thanks. We're super looking forward to getting out there, and we'll probably end up doing a whole episode of the podcast on it because it's such a cool opportunity. I've never been up to the Yukon. It's always been my dream to get up to the Yukon and to get to go up to the Yukon to film disc golf.
How cool.
We're probably gonna be running cameras like 24/7, just because we want to get every bit of footage that we can while we're up there. So, yeah, we'll talk about it more. But larger than life, it's July 5th to 7th, but there's stuff going on the whole week. So if you haven't made summer plans and you want to go on an adventure this summer, mix some disc golf into it and head up to the Yukon. I hear it's nice that time of year.
That's awesome. Sorry to throw spoilers in there. Speaking of, are you guys going to announce a full tour? Are you going to announce them like kind of as you go, like you did last year, and then a big last one about the final ones?
We'll probably come out in the next couple weeks here and make sure we'll do it all in one big post. We will leave it open though because it is open to A tiers and B tiers. We I think we have 7 or 8 confirmed already. And we kind of have room for another 1 or 2 is kind of where we kind of maxed out our coverage for the year. And so we are going to leave those last 2 spots open in case tournament wants to step up and fill one of those slots. So, we will be.
We're underrepresented in Ontario and Quebec right now, and we are trying to get more Ontario and Quebec action going. So, might be a little bit TBA on those, but.
You just need those TDs to buy in, right?
Exactly. Well, I mean,
yeah,
I'll say this right now. The Gold Eagle Open was one of those ones that was kind of on the edge, and I think I'm going to break this on the podcast right now. We just got a contract back from them. So Gold Eagle is officially back on.
Nice.
The tour. So.
We had people reach out to us after the Gold Eagle coverage asking, like, because we managed to film the last 2 holes of FPO for that one, and then spoiler alert if you haven't watched it yet. Okay, ready? Okay. Playoff. There was a playoff at the end of it. And so we ended up filming the last 7 holes. And somebody asked, hey, why did we get full MPO coverage, but we didn't get more than like this 6-7 holes of FPO? And we had to explain, like, well, it's like this is not necessarily a money-making endeavor. And doing a whole other like 3 rounds of coverage doubles our costs. And we have to pay camera operators, like it's me and Andre, but we still have to pay people, so we're out of pocket when we do the more coverage we do, and if the TDs didn't step up and help finance it, then it's like it doesn't really make any sense. And then somebody reached out to me directly. It was like, okay, how can we make it make sense? So which was super cool. So I was like, well, here's what you can do. Like the TDs get control of the advertising on the coverage. So if you know local businesses and you can round up like 4 or 5 local businesses and get them in each for a few $100s, like that can go to paying for full FPO coverage at one of these events. And she was like, okay, we're on it.
I think part of it is this, like, we didn't know what was possible. One of the things that we were very proud to do last year was to have final round FPO coverage of a number of our events. Unfortunately, it didn't work out at Gold Eagle because the ladies actually, normally the ladies go out at a totally different time than MPO. And this time I think they went out after the MPO. So we had no chance of getting it. Like we couldn't even just like race to the start to get FPO or race to the start after doing FPO to get MPO. And so I think, some communication with some of the tournament directors about how to make that work as well would go a long ways, because it is one of those things that as a company, we know the importance. Like you said, there's a lot of young women that are inspired to watch you play. And I think that's very important for the growth of disc golf in Canada. So.
Yeah.
How do you feel about playing early in the morning, Colleen? Because this is often the conundrum, right? Like we can't be 2 places in once. So I'm curious to know, like, how do you feel about maybe playing in the morning and making sure that we can get coverage of FPO versus like playing at a more reasonable time in the day?
I don't care. I think it would be fine.
She's got a
morning or later. I think it's more so it's on the TD, right? Like you said, to figure out how to make it work and coordinate. If the TDs are telling us, even like a few days ahead, hey, you guys are going to be a morning tea time. Don't know when, but tea times aren't out yet, but that helps too. So I think sometimes people aren't upset about morning tea times. They're upset about being blindsided by it, which is like not a big deal when like, oh, I'll just make sure my sleep schedule is right before, instead of staying up late and thinking I can like sleep in and tee off at noon, right? So I personally, I like it. I think you end up having the rest of your day. Personally, I'm not as tired after my round when I play in the morning, so that I do want to go walk around and caddy or watch someone or whatever. So I think it's way better. I think most women would probably feel that way, but I think a lot of what was happening years ago was like pro tour, and everyone was kind of following suit. The women were really early always, because the tour wasn't as big, right? So it'd usually be the same course. So the women go right away in the morning, and then it's all the MPOs after. And then they started doing a weird thing of like, we'll put the women at the end, and then sometimes we'll put the women in the middle, and they were trying to feel it out and figure it out. I mean, now they just play different courses. So, but when they do play the same, like that's kind of what women are used to, is playing in the morning. So I think it's fine. I personally don't want to have to wait around till like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then go, are we going to have enough daylight to finish our final round? What if we have a playoff? Like, that's wild when that happens sometimes. So I think the guys have it a little bit worse.
Yeah. And going back to like sort of the reason why we're doing this all, Casey, have you, like, in the last couple of years now that you've been on coverage a bunch, like, have you had experiences where people were like, hey, I watched you play X tournament, and is that cool? Is that weird? How do you feel about that?
No, I think it's super cool, right? Like, and like what Colleen said, and what we've been talking about this whole time is I do want to be a part of that. Like I'm super busy right now, and I don't have the time to go out and teach people and teach, and I have been to schools and stuff here in town and showed people how to throw and stuff, but it's a lot of time, right? And you only get so much time during the summer. Like, we don't have all year round like Florida does, right? Like, you can't just play disc golf all year round up in Canada. So it is super cool to think that it's like I played pretty high level hockey, and then to come over to disc golf and think, oh, these kids are actually watching me online on YouTube, and I'm kind of maybe giving them something to hope for and play, right? Is like, if they can't play like a really expensive sport, and they come to disc golf and they're like, man, I love this, like I want to play more. And then they start watching YouTube on it, and then hopefully it comes up, like your guys' channel comes up in Canada, and right, and they're like, oh man, Casey was here, or anybody who was on coverage is like, they were here, played this course that I can play every day, and hopefully it inspires them to play more, for sure.
But they should buy your disc to get autographs on it, obviously.
I've heard people talk on YouTube, and they're like, oh, this is Casey Hanmeyer's home course. Oh, well, it was. No, he moved to BC now. Like, it's so weird that, but people know like so much about you, because it is cool to watch those people. So I've heard a lot of people talk about you. all in good ways of like awestruck.
I'm sure I've rubbed a couple of people the wrong way, but hopefully not everybody.
Apparently some
Just
Finns, maybe.
all of Finland.
Yeah, all of Finland, yeah.
It wasn't on coverage, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
You guys got to make sure cameras are rolling at this WFDF. Hopefully, do you know, like, is I forget the name. There's a good Australian production company, but there are people in Australia that do.
I know what their name is.
Production. Well, you guys, who is it?
Parked Media.
Oh, it's Parked Media. That's right.
It's like your sister.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope they filmed some of the WFDF thing, because every one I've been to, they haven't really filmed anything there. So it would be cool because like they're kind of doing it this year in Australia is that at the same time as all their big tournaments. So it's like there's a big A tier right after WFDF. So I hope that somebody is there and filming part of it. That'd be really cool.
Well, you know,
I
if
want-
they ever bring it to Canada, that there's a media company waiting in the wings. So
Well, we have a bunch of extra people going too. Like Chris is coming now, which he wasn't going to come, but he's coming. So like he went and live streamed some of the stuff. Like he live streams the playoffs. So if we could get people doing that, I mean, like that's the bare minimum. But
I was gonna say maybe
Maybe
we'll send a camcorder down with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you each get a carry-on.
well, 'cause we'll have a few people's partners are coming, so there'll be a bunch of people around.
We got to teach Jeremy how to film. I think he's done commentary, but I got to get him trained up on a camera because if he's maybe going to go down as an alternate, like, be pretty ideal.
Cool. Well,
Well,
I don't
gonna
have
be
too
super
much
cool.
else for you guys. We've taken out quite a bit of your guys' time, but is there anything that you wanted to tell our listeners or let them know about or ask them?
I'm gonna give a shout out to She Dyes Her Discs, my sponsor this year. It's a local dyer in Barrie, so if you're looking for some beautiful art on your discs, make you feel really good when you throw them. And I appreciate that they dye them properly, so when it spins the right way, like satisfies the OCD. But yeah, them and T3 is our Toronto Tag Tour, which is just another local group of friends sponsor.
Cool.
You had some of the best looking discs on tour, Colleen. So
Thank you. Oh, I forgot too. The Canadian women's event. I don't know if we talked too much about this, but it's happening this year. Kind of like all the other things we've been saying, like if you're looking to get interested, you can message me. But also there is a Facebook group, there's a chat that they have a whole committee and they're doing them all across Canada, and it's kind of to supplement the women's global events. So if you want to play or you want to run one, super easy. You literally just need your permit and like your local insurance and you're good. They have players packs and everything, so just, if you want to try it out, not this year, they're doing it every year. So reach out and see.
Yeah.
And thank you to those women.
Yeah, I think that's one of those signs of the growth in Canada that we're able to host that. I know it's something that we've tried to bring up as much as possible on the podcast. I think we mentioned the last couple of podcasts where, there's these events are happening soon, and registration for them most of them is open now. So, I mean, definitely if you want to participate, head over to Disc Golf Scene and find one near you because they are being ran throughout the country, and phenomenal opportunity to get into the sport and to hopefully spread the word about the sport because there's a lot of new players that sign up for these events too. So that's super.
Yeah, and you can have CWE and it should come up. They've put it in their name for all of the events, so it should come up.
Cool.
And I think it's a 6-week period, so they're not all the same weekend. So you actually might be able to go to more than one. So
Very cool.
every time you see pictures from a women's event, smiles.
oh man,
Like so many.
Double the smiles than at a regular disc golf tournament.
we had a bubble blowing station last year at ours because it was just like we just were trying to think of all the silly things we could do and just like fun things. Like how can you be sad about a hole when you're going up and blowing bubbles now? It's just so yeah. There's definitely some kooky things that I think are unique about women's events that it's definitely wild. If you're a guy and you want to check it out, go volunteer and spot. And I swear you will never see, like you said, the more smiles than you do at those events.
Totally.
100%.
We'll definitely give Christy Shields a shout out because she runs all our local stuff for women's stuff and she does an awesome job here. So yeah, big shout out to Christy.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and I believe committee too, right? She's actually on that. So big shout out to her for organizing behind the scenes too.
totally. Cool. I don't know if you guys have
Casey?
anything else.
I might as well shout out my sponsors too then, because I got new ones this year.
Oh yeah, exclusive.
Yeah.
I'll shout out FlexZone out of Quebec. He does a bunch of stuff for tournaments. He does all the Flex minis, made out of like rubber, I guess, not rubber, foam, like a compact foam, so you can use it as a mini, and then as a knee pad as well. And they're super cool. Get a hold of him, FlexZone. He has all the stuff for tournaments and everything. TDs for players packs and everything, and then Limber Disc Golf out of Calgary. So it's my new retail sponsor in Canada.
Yeah, and like I can't say enough good things about Taylor at Limber, because this weekend we have the Rock Bear coming up, and that's part of the Rusty series, and he's been supporting us throughout all that. So huge shout out to Limber and Cold Garden as well.
Old Garden as well, yeah, the brewery in Calgary, wicked spot.
Yeah, if you guys have never, if you haven't been to Limber, it's one of the best disc golf retail spaces that I've ever been in. So definitely check it out and support Casey.
Very cool.
So. Cool. Awesome. Well, Matt,
Guys, thank you so much for being on the podcast, but also thank you for delivering on camera. I've only done it a couple of times, and I know how hard it is to play that great of disc golf, but also play that great of disc golf on camera. And you guys showed up and provided highlight after highlight after highlight for us all across the country. And we can't thank you enough. It made it fun. We'll film good rounds and bad rounds, but boy, filming those great rounds is way more fun, and editing them is way more fun. So thank you guys for showing up and clutching up at all those events. It was awesome. It made our 2023 tour year what it was. So congratulations on the inaugural championships, and thanks again for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing what you guys do.